Hey folks, and welcome back to part 2 of Let's Play Pokémon FireRed and LeafGreen. Today, we're starting off with a little bit of a training montage. There's not too many areas in the game where you're actually gonna have to actively grind for levels, as in some other RPGs. Maybe only 2 or 3, and that includes this one. So, last time I ended off the part saying that we might meet up with our rival again. And that's what we're preparing for. There's an optional upcoming rival battle that you can take up on Route 22, because Route 22 actually leads to the very end of the game. To the west of all the other towns in the game, there's the Indigo Plateau, the Pokemon League Championship. And we can't go there yet because we're missing all the badges and all the special moves and all the experience that we need as a trainer to get to the Pokemon League. But our rival tried to go there, and that's where we're gonna meet him again. This Pokemon will be at level 9, so that's what I'd recommend. And you know, to say the least, I was actually a little bit worried because both of his Pokemon are super effective against my starter. And yeah, that's a little bit of a pain. But thankfully we have Spectre. He's a powerhouse, trust me. The background song that I used for this little montage is actually from the video game Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and it's actually by a band called Anamanaguchi, and the song is called, or the title is Another Winter, and it's actually the first level of the game. I absolutely love that game, even though it's just a little PlayStation Store, Xbox Live exclusive, but it's amazingly fun, and amazing soundtrack as well. That said though, now we have Leech Seed and Low Kick as a part of our arsenal, and probably the first stab moves. Stab stands for same type attack bonus, and it basically means that if you use the moves that have the same typings as your Pokemon, you'll get a little bit of a boost in your attack power. That said though, here's Blue, and he starts off with a Pidgey, level 9 with the moveset Tackle, Sand Attack and Gust. He has the ability Keen Eye, which means he can't really lose any accuracy, so if you do have a Pokemon somehow that knows a move like Double Team or Sand Attack, which I don't think you can pick up at this point, at least in this game, don't bother. So, we're gonna stick with Spectre, and it is a little bit scary, nothing like a Spearow would be. If this game had a challenge mode, I would definitely make our rival have a Spearow level 9, and it would be basically really hard to take out. Once you've dealt with the Pidgey, you have the starter. Again, as you guys know, the rival starts off with a starter that is advantageous to yours in terms of typing, and I decided to go for a few Leers, just because I know how powerful Spectre is. And yeah, I pretty much bank on the fact that we can two-shot him after 2 Leers. And yeah, that's all she wrote. At this point, all the starters that your rival could pick do have their elemental moves, their original ones. So Ember for Charmander, which is you know, not that powerful of a fire type move. Bubble for Squirtle. And well, sadly, we don't have Wine Whip yet, but we do have Leech Seed. So the moves we've picked up on the way through the training were Low Kick, which is a fighting type move for Mankey, and it's not powerful at all. It only has 20 attack power, but it does have a passive special effect, and that depends on the weight of the Pokemon you're battling. So for example, if you're fighting a Rattata or a Pidgey, I mean, you probably wouldn't use Low Kick anyway. Well, maybe you would for a Rattata because it's normal type, but it wouldn't do that much damage. Sure, Mankey is a very powerful Pokemon in terms of his base stats, but a 20 power move versus a quick scratch, you know, you'll still weigh your options. But if you're fighting something like Rock type, perhaps, you know, and something that's also very heavy, like a lot of Rock types are, you'll be actually sweeping through those themes with Low Kick, even though it has less attack power than other fighting type moves you'll pick up on the way. In the Pokemon Mart right there, I picked up more Pokeballs, because as we talked about last time, we're moving on to the first dungeon of the game, the Viridian Forest, and also a few antidotes, because this is where the status effects come into play in this game, specifically poison. Well, because we are going into a forest and there's a lot of bugs there, and some of them are definitely poisonous. I didn't choose to put any information on the sidebar for Route 2. I'm not sure if you've missed that or not. But yeah, so the reasoning for that is all the Pokemon you can find on Route 2, you can also find in Viridian Forest at better, or I should say, easier or more convenient encounter rates. And Route 2 is gonna play actually quite an important role all the way at the end of the game. So I guess I decided to save my time and Photoshop PSD file for Route 2 for all the way at the end, I guess. The new Pokemon we can find in Viridian Forest are Caterpie, Metapod, Weedle, Kakuna, and Pikachu. If you look on the sidebar and you're confused by what 5 to 10% means, it's related to the FireRed and LeafGreen symbols next to the grass icon. For example, if you look at the Metapod's information, 5 to 10% means that if you're playing Pokemon FireRed, there's a 5% chance encounter rate for Metapod. But if you're like me playing along on a LeafGreen cartridge, you'll find Metapods 10% of the time. The same is reversed for Kakuna, right? It's 10% encounter rate in FireRed and 5 for LeafGreen. If you've noticed, next to the very first NPC of the game standing next to that tree, I picked up a hidden item. And it was an antidote, so I guess I kind of spent $100 extra in the mart for no reason. But yes, there are hidden items in this game, and the hidden items can be pretty much anywhere. They're not always gonna be on specific houses or trees or walls of the emulated world, I guess I should say. They can be on any blank pixel on the ground, and as they're hidden, you'll actually never see them without an indicator, unless you're, you know, all the way in the future of the game where you can pick up an item that lets you find hidden items much easier. But the reason I'm talking about that is I will be showing off all the hidden items in this game, and it's something I've never actually done before, and it sounded like a fun challenge because even these hidden items in Viridian Forest I never knew about. I never knew that only a few steps into the forest, right next to the entrance, you can already pick up an antidote. And there's one more item hidden in the Viridian Forest, but that one's at the very end. And with that, we actually have our first trainer battle, which is weird. I mean, we're quite heavy into the game, but here we are, first trainer that isn't our rival. And he's a bug catcher, right? And that's, I guess, a type of trainer or a branch of trainer who specializes in a specific typing of all their Pokemon. And since we're in a forest, crawling with bugs, he'll have Weedles and Caterpies. Nah, actually most of the trainers will. And I suppose that I should show off the difference between Caterpie and Weedle. So if you're looking for an easier time against the upcoming gym battle, which is rock type, which I'm sure most of you are aware, if you were playing the originals, and by that I mean the red, blue and yellow games, and if you somehow have a tough time defeating the first gym leader, a very common technique is to actually catch a Caterpie and level it up, because bug type Pokemon historically level up very fast. Most of them have 2 stages of evolution, and they'll get to their last stage of evolution by level 10, which is actually really powerful for the beginning of the game. Like I said last time, this game doesn't mess around when actually allowing you to have an easy time with solid Pokemon right off the bat in the first few areas. In Caterpie's case, its final evolution is Butterfree, and Butterfree can actually learn Confusion, and that was always one of the cleanest techniques of defeating Brock, the first gym leader, if you didn't have a Pokemon like Mankey, or Bulbasaur, or Squirtle, or Charmander with Metal Claw, Yeah, if you're really bad at the game, you might want to go for a Caterpie. In that last trainer battle also, we leveled up to level 10, and yeah, we learned Wine Whip. That's actually our first grass damaging move. Leech Seed is kind of like a status inflicting move. It's basically like poison, but it doesn't count as a status effect. And periodically it will, well, periodically, I mean every turn, it will sap a portion of the opponent's health and restore that portion to your own Pokemon. And yeah, because it's not officially a status effect, and it's just a condition from a move, right? You can also use poison or paralysis or, you know, any other status on that Pokemon because they stack. Because one of them is officially a status and the other isn't. I think you get it. Other than that, where was I? I was talking about the difference between the bugs, right? So, with that, Caterpie is actually a pretty good catch if you're having a hard time discerning your strategy for the first gym leader. But if you want to go the more faster offensive route, or at least physically offensive route, you might want to go for a Weedle. Now, Weedles have Poison Sting right off the bat, and you saw how annoying that can really be, even for us, right? It poisoned Mankey on its very first attack in our trainer battle. Again, they level up their final evolution at level 10, and yeah, that one is a fast physical attacker. I wouldn't really recommend it because it won't do you any favors in the upcoming gym battle. But yeah, it's a pretty cool Pokemon. It's original. Their mid-evolutions, however, or the first stage evolutions, Metapod and Kakuna, well, like the name says, you know, they're the cocoons before they grow into beautiful, powerful creatures, and they can't really do much. You can catch those right off the bat in the Viridian Forest, but if you catch a Metapod without actually having a Caterpie first and evolving it, you'll have a very hard time of training it up, because all it knows is Harden, and that's a move that only, you know, ups your defense by one stage. Yeah, it doesn't really do any damage. I mean, granted, it's very annoying to fight against, but you won't win any battles with just a Metapod or just a Kakuna. You want to evolve it from their previous forms so they can already know moves like Tackle or Poison Sting. But with another Kakuna slash Metapod defeated, Spectre grows to level 11 and learns Karate Chop. Pretty much the Wine Whip of fighting type moves. It's our first move that doesn't have a passive ability and is quite strong, plus it gives us the stab bonus I talked about earlier. Again, you've probably noticed by now, I'm cutting out a lot of wild encounters just because, I mean, all this forest really provides is Caterpies and Weedles, and sometimes their evolutions. But other than that, we can also find Pikachu, which is 5% across the board in both versions, and it's quite rare. It actually took me damn near 20 minutes to find one, and it's just as rare as Kakuna in the version that I'm playing. But yeah, the point of me saying that I'm cutting out a lot of wild encounters also plays into the fact that a lot of the trainer battles in this game are very, very similar. For example, in this forest, I could have left in an extra 5 to 10 minutes of me battling Weedles and Kakunas from the trainers, but I decided not to because they're so repetitive. It's great for when you're first experiencing it in the game because the Weedles and Kakunas are all new to you, and as you find more and more trainers, you'll find that their levels are also exponentially higher. So the last trainer, I think his name is actually Sammy, his Weedle is level 9, and that's actually kind of scary because it can poison you, and you might be low on health by the end of the dungeon, and you might not, you know, have picked up any medicine at the mart. So, you know, it's actually a threat. But for a lot of the wild encounters and previous trainers who just have stacks of low-level Kakunas and Caterpies, it's just a bad idea to show off, in my opinion. But here we are, and 5% Kakuna right in the bag. I mean, if you wanted to, you could actually just grind your Weedle or Caterpie, or both if you're going for Pokédex completion, right in the forest, and get 2 more entries right off the bat. if I'm starving for Pokédex entries later on in the game, I usually do something like that. I level up all the Pokemon that are the easiest to raise in the most efficient amount of time to complete the Pokédex entries if I'm only a few short to get a specific item, right? And you know, sometimes when we get later, much later in the game, you'll get to new areas without really no new encounters, and that can be scary. But with that, we've also registered Metapod into the Pokédex, and all that's left for us to do is to find a Pikachu. Now, originally when I was planning for this Let's Play, I really wanted an electric type, because I really like electric types. But, again, just like Spearow, and just like Charmander in this game in my opinion, Pikachu suffers the same fate or curse when it comes to Let's Playing, and it's so overused. Sure, it's a rare Pokemon, it's hard to come by, but with the power of editing and a little bit of patience, anyone could catch a Pikachu in the forest. And that's the reason everybody uses a Pikachu in their Let's Plays. And again, I wanted to be even so slightly original and not use it as my electric type. But I guess I made a mistake now revealing that one of my team members will be electric typed. And yeah, again, there are some typings in the game that just suffer because of its generation. I mean, you know, humble beginnings, I guess. But in this game, finding strong electric types outside of the norm of Pikachu, or finding strong fire types outside of Pokemon like Charizard or Arcanine is very, very difficult. But more on that in the future. Again, I think I'm overloading you on some information that you don't need to know. That said though, we've gone through our first dungeon of the game, we've defeated Blue one more time, and now we're in Pewter City, the location of the very first gym that's actually open. Next time on Let's Play Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen, we'll take on Pewter City's gym battle. Jesus Christ, I messed that up. See you guys then.